In our last video, we had set our images to export, and these are still going. But there was one thing I wanted to do that I forgot to do in that video. So before we go on to the retrospective, let's go ahead and do that. I want to export all of these as the Instagram story size. So I'm going to clone these variants of all of these images. And that's going to give me basically a second copy within Capture One that now I can crop it to the Instagram story size and then export that. So it might run a little bit slower because I am exporting currently at the same time, but you can see 1, 2. So same image. It's just this is a different variant that now we can come in and crop at 9:16. Oops, undo that. Which is the Instagram story size. So some of these will crop differently. And I'm going to make this a little bit. Let's do, there we go. So we can see each one there. And then again, 9:16. So obviously these images are going to be different and they can have a different look to them. I mean, the same, but they're can have a different look to them based on the composition that we crop, right? So this would be the regular, and this is the Instagram story size. So let's take this. I'm going to Alt copy and then Control Shift V to paste. Same, Control Shift V to paste, and then hit C to get back to the crop tool to crop this in. Control Shift V, and then C. That gives me the crop tool again at 9:16. So right about there. This one, oh, it looks like we didn't create a, oh, okay, it just minimized. So you can expand or collapse if there's different variants there. Like this. And we'll do some that are a little closer up to just add a little bit of variation. We go. And just cropping these in. This one's a pretty tight shot, I think. This one here as well. This one, I'd like to get some of that, but you know, 9:16, you sometimes you don't get it. You don't get everything if, you know, the shot was more of a landscape type shot like some of these are. Maybe we'll get a little bit there, kind of crop. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but I'm going to crop these as best as I can, and then that'll determine if, you know, if I use them in stories. Something like this. Get the nice blur in the foreground. Control Shift V. Hit C to get back to my crop tool. Like that. Control Shift V and then C again. So pretty redundant process, just doing it for each image here. Some of these might actually look better as stories instead of posts because they are portrait and you get to see more of a full body shot instead of having to crop in as much as we did for some of them. So for this one as well, we go have it nice and centered, and then we can do some different variations so it's not quite as centered. Maybe just a nice simple close-up one. Go. And continuing along, only a few more left to do. And then once we have these, basically we are going to export them and continue that export process. So like this, I mean, she's looking in the mirror, but you kind of don't get the whole look of it. You can see a little bit in the foreground maybe, but so for some of these, it might not really work too well as a story. Like this one will actually probably work a lot better as a story, because of the cropping of it. And that's something you have to be aware of and really be okay with. Not everything is going to work with every sort of cropping or composition. So for this, I'm going to adjust this so I can get her hand in the foreground there that you can see. And 9x16, 16x9 portrait, basically. Here we go. Yeah, some of these really lend themselves well to the mirror shot. To the story size, I should say. Some of the mirror shots do. Like I think that'll work pretty well. You can see the foreground right there, but most of it's in the mirror. Go. Pretty straight on there. Maybe for that, be a little more cropped in. And with this, same, but get some of that up here. And for these, this will be interesting to see how some of these turn out. If the cropping will work well, might get a little bit extra of that effect. Or kind of cutting out some of it around the edges here. But so you can see it, the same shot, but it can look quite different when you crop it, especially when you have all these kind of effects on it. This. Control Shift V, still doing the same thing, and then I'll hit C to go to the crop tool and crop it in around her. And for some of these, get that lining up on the eye. Just for compositional purposes, this one here will look pretty good. A little bit on the bottom and top. Reaching the end here. There we go. That to get her arms in there a little bit, and then this will just have a little touch of the effect on either side. Go. And then the last few here, we're going to crop right above, kind of like what we did with 4/5, but with 16:9. Let me get a little higher. Not quite as wide, but those are the differences. Look at this. And then the last one here. We could probably do full on this, as much as it'll give us. All right, there we go. So now what we can do is select just these. So I'll just right click, select by same, and we're going to select all of the variant 2 positions, and then come in again, right click, export, and we're going to, I have a thing set up to automatically export the Instagram stories, which goes to my OneDrive, which is where I start to organize those that then I'll post to Instagram if I need to. So I don't want to export full size. This is going to my Instagram stories. And then the width is going to be 2160. So we don't need the full resolution of these because they're not going to be printed. They're specifically for Instagram. But yeah, set that to export. It will add that to the queue. And then all of those that we'll be able to see here in a second once this little thing ends. This will progress as it's adding it to the export queue. I will show you the overall that we have. Once it's adding it in there. Let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while we don't have to sit here and wait for this. Once this is done, I'll bring the video back. Okay, this is just about ready to, just about to the end here. And this is just adding it to the queue, right? So it's not actually exporting now, but we can see that it'll take quite a while to get through all of these variants that we have. And if we want to see more, we can come in, let's add in our export tool tab. And then if we scroll down, or we can dial these down to make them smaller, but we'll find our export queue down here. And that's what it's adding it to. So you can see the one it's currently working on. And then, well, it had 57 before, but we just added another 50 or so to it. So now it's 95 total. But you can see these are the Instagram story ones that we've got going on, and then some of the other ones that we have as well. So really at this point, it's just a matter of waiting and letting it crank out. So with this, this will be the end here of this tutorial, unless she comes back with some edits. If she does, then of course I will add another video with those edits as we go through those. But as I said at the end of the last video and then forgot about these Instagram story crops, this will be the end. And then in the next video, we will do a quick little retrospective on the entire project. So I'll see you there.